Hi, I'm Jeff Alpin, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I spend a little bit of time, about a half hour-ish, answering questions from you about your job search. After all, job hunting doesn't have to be as hard, difficult, painful, or take as long as it does. It's just the skills needed to find a job are different from those needed to do a job. And most of you are good at the work that you do. However, unfortunately, many of you act as though what you're supposed to do is just regurgitate a bunch of data about yourself and you're going to wind up getting hired. Now, first of all, you got to understand that you're going to be asked that on a date first. You have to get an interview first before you even get the interview. And most of you are not really getting interviews. And I'll come to that as soon as I finish my introduction here. But I'll just say for many of you, it's really rough out there. And, you know, what I'm seeing is, and actually, let me just use some data I just saw from the Challenger report that's published by Challenger Gray and Christmas every month. And they reported that although job cuts were down significantly in April, and this is their May 2nd report, they did say that there are a lot of industries doing cuts, and the amount of hiring that's projected to go on is the lowest that it's been since April of 2013. Catch that one. Hiring plans are 2016. Hiring plans are the lowest since April of 20, actually, let me back up. The headline was wrong. Since April of 2013. So there are not a lot of jobs out there, or fewer jobs out there than normally would be out there. Thus, everything is far more competitive. Now, they're starting to think that this may have been this fewer jobs cut than before, in previous months, the calm before the storm, that they're expecting even more layoffs as the year goes on. So it's very important that you act professionally in your job search and not learn through trial and error. I'm going to point to my site, JobSearch.Community, as a place where I have inexpensive and expensive programs and a number in the middle between the two extremes, where I help people find work either through content I've created, and I've got video courses, books, and guides to help job hunters, as well as through my personal coaching with people. So minimally, I've got some free stuff there. You ought to go to JobSearch.Community, there it is, and download the free stuff, but I want to encourage you, become an insider so that what you're able to do is get access to me and all the other information that's available to you. Again, that's JobSearch.Community. I also want to mention that you should connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you saw this. I like knowing I'm helping some people. You're going to grow your network a lot as a result of this, because I'm one of those people with a lot of connections. And thus, my first level connections, once we're connected, become your second levels. So connecting with me serves you very well to enhance your reach on LinkedIn. After all, resumes are for when you want to be the hunter. LinkedIn is the place where you can be hunted. Catch that one. Resumes are for when you are the hunter. LinkedIn is for when you want to be hunted. And thus, what you're able to do is position yourself on LinkedIn as someone that has value to people. That requires work on your profile, your visibility, and a variety of other things. But let's start off with expanding your network so you have a greater reach. So again, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. Also, again, JobSearch.Community, where I've got video courses, books, and guides to help you. Plus, depending upon the program you choose, you have access to me, where I can help you with your job search very actively. Okay. So I've received a bunch of questions going into the show, but again, don't hesitate to put yours into chat so I can answer them live. That's what I'm here for, to answer questions live, as well as those of you who can't make it live, by having you send your questions to me at my LinkedIn page, my LinkedIn profile, linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. And I'll try and get to them in the next show. So as I said in the announcement of this show, always mark that you'll attend. Send me your questions in advance, and I'll try to answer them live. Then you can watch the replay and get your answers. Okay? Now, the first question I received today is, how do you answer the question, do you always follow the rules? Now, I always think about what the job is when someone's going to be asked this kind of question. Are they looking for a creative, or are they looking for someone who is like in accounting, where it's very rules-based? So let's start off by acknowledging, there are legal reasons to follow the rules. No issue with my following the rules for legal reasons. However, there's sometimes I might have some questions about what I'm supposed to do, and they may not make sense. So I'm always going to check with my manager to figure out what I should be doing here, and whether breaking the rule here, or the guideline, because sometimes it's really a guideline, or a habit makes the most sense. I don't want to leave my manager out exposed in case this is something important to the firm. However, let's just concede it. I'm never going to try and break the law. So we don't have to worry about my putting the firm in a position of prosecution. However, where I'm not sure, I'm going to ask questions in order to be sure. Okay? And that's the way I would approach it. And have a friendly smile on your face as you talk. Don't seem nervous or uncomfortable. Just in a matter-of-fact kind of way, answer the question. Let's go to the second one. Is it common, is it common for recruiters to respond to emails or calls? It depends on when in the process you are. So, for example, I've just submitted my resume to you. Call me back. Or, have you looked at my resume yet? I know when I did recruiting, I didn't respond to any of that nonsense. So yes, you reminded me to look at your resume. Wonderful. You don't need a call from me to say, I haven't looked at it yet, or I have and I've rejected you. That was my approach to it. Now, if we're talking about post-interview and I haven't gotten feedback from my client, well, frankly, what am I supposed to do? Say, no feedback yet? No. When do you think you'll have it? When they decide to tell me. And I would dress that up more nicely. But if I don't have word back, what am I really telling you? I'm giving you a placebo. You're begging for more that I really can't give to you. So is it common for them to respond at that time? No. Yes. Depends on the recruiter. I know I handled a lot, so I was very demanding of my clients and the people I represented, because my time was pulled in lots of different directions. So when I had news, I committed to respond. And if it was a rejection, I had an email that I had set up as a signature file that said, I don't remember the exact words because it's been a long time since I did recruiting, but sometimes it is unfortunate that I have to communicate that someone's been rejected. That is the case with you. I don't really have any additional information to report. The client hasn't communicated with me about why they've chosen to do that, but they have. I'll keep an eye out for additional opportunities, and when I have something for you, I'll get back in touch. And that I thought was the kindest way to respond, because I told them I didn't really have anything more than that. If I did, I would get to them, um, but I would continue to try and find additional opportunities for them, which is really what they wanted from me. The hurt never goes away about being turned down. That's the truth of it. The hurt doesn't go away. However, even with the additional information, most people scratch their heads and wonder, gee, that doesn't seem right. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way that it is. So the next question is, what should be done if a job recruiter doesn't reply after getting a resume? Okay, this is another example of the same thing. And I'm not sure if you mean corporate or agency recruiter when you talk about job recruiter. Okay, so don't know about that. So I'm going to answer both. You give it a day or so because you are not the A priority for them. I know it's your A priority, but they're multitasking. So give it a day. Maybe the following day, at the end of the day, you drop them a quick email and say, I uploaded a resume to you, to your applicant tracking system for such and such position. I did it at approximately this time. This gives them a way of finding you more easily and knowing when to look in their system. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet. If I've been rejected, my feelings won't be hurt if you just let me know that. My phone number is, my email address is obviously part of this email. Please let me know if you plan on talking with me, because I do think I'm qualified for this role. If not, I promise not to argue. If you send me a message to say you're not going to be interviewing me, and might be kind enough to tell me why. So it's the end of the following day that I might send something to a hiring manager. Let's say 4:00 their time, which gives them an hour to respond. And they may not. So you have to understand, they have multiple responsibilities internally to respond to. And you are not the most important person in the universe to them. The paperwork that they have to get in to extend the offer is. The hiring manager who wants to extend an offer, who wants to communicate about a job description is. There are other things that are the A priorities for them, and you're not it. So just understand that, follow through. If you don't hear from them at that time, you send them one more email 2 days later. Say, I don't know if my message got through to you or it wound up in spam, but I just want to see if you might be interested in talking with me about such and such position that I applied for at such and such date. Should employers pay job candidates who are asked to spend a few days doing a job trial? Okay. So the answer is, in my opinion, yes. Now, let's talk about what a job trial is, because I've had firms who give an assignment to people to do such and such work. And they say, we're going to pay, we have an expectation that this will take an hour of your time. We're going to pay you this amount for that 1 hour. Okay. And if you take longer, this is the amount of time we're prepared to pay for. We need you to fill out this form for tax purposes. We have to report this as income to you. But whatever it is, yes, I do believe so. If it's working at their site for 2 days or a week as a tryout to see if you'd like it and they'd like you, by all means, yes. Yes. And there are people who hold a different opinion about the work at home assignment, where they don't believe it should be paid. This is part of your interview. I get it. I don't happen to agree with it, but I get it from their standpoint. You're not an employee of theirs. They're not giving you work product that's going to benefit them. They think maybe it will, but you don't know. And the result winds up being they hold a different opinion than I do. So sometimes I've encouraged people to respond by saying, I've been in a situation before where I was asked to do a 2-day project for a firm, and it was clearly free consulting. And I don't want to do free consulting. So tell me how this relates to you evaluating me for this job. And that becomes a way that you can broach it. So listen to their answer. And if they are dismissive of you, just understand that there was a message in that for you that I think will serve you well. Okay? So I'm just going to pause for a second and say, if you haven't already done so, visit me at JobSearch.Community. See there, JobSearch.Community, where I've got video courses, books, and guides to help you with your search. I've got free stuff, and if you become an insider at any of the levels there, you get access to all of them. All my video courses, books, and guides, plus access to me answering your questions and helping you with your search. Also, please put your questions about your job search into chat so I can answer them live. Okay? We've got more. And this person wrote, so I applied for a job that required a high school diploma or GED, but don't have either. I know it was wrong for me to lie, but I took a shot. They're asking for transcripts. It was for an entry-level position. How should I respond? Well, if you continue the lie, they're going to find out, right? You can't create a fraudulent document. That's grounds for termination if post-employment. You don't want that to happen. You're committing a fraud. I would immediately confess, and if it causes them to reject you, so be it. But normally when a firm asks for the documentation, it's at the end of their process where they're interested in hiring you. So I would respond by saying, I saw in the ad that you asked for a high school diploma or GED, but I knew I could do the job. I don't have either. And I've demonstrated in my interviews that my knowledge and capabilities and character are sufficiently strong that you're interested in hiring me. Proof that I was right in my original assumption. I'm not sure what you looked for from the high school diploma or GED, but clearly I'm qualified to do this job. You're interested in hiring me. So if you need me to complete another application to make the change, I'm happy to do it. Notice the goal is to get them to agree to you completing another application, not lying. I want to underscore that, not lying. Telling them the truth, which is you were confident that you could do this job. And the fact that you didn't have a diploma or GED shouldn't be held against you. And if you choose to do that, that's your prerogative. I'll be disappointed because, again, I believe I can do the job, but I want to tell you the truth. At that point, it's up to people outside of your control. It's up to the fates to decide whether or not this goes further. But I will tell you, for anyone who's lied on an employment application or falsified some document and was found out, and how horrible they felt. They had to go home and tell their wife, husband, partner, kids that they were fired because they lied on the application. And they tried saying, I don't know why I was fired. They didn't tell me. And everyone's arguing with you. You should go back there and find out why. But you know the real reason. It's a horrible experience. I've received calls from people post-employment who've had that happen to them. You don't want to be in that position after expending so much emotional energy and capital toward getting hired. Don't do it. Just tell them the truth, okay? Next one. Is it difficult for College graduates with no prior programming experience to find entry-level jobs as programmers, developers. The answer is nothing is easy these days. That's the fact of it. And you know that. You're asking the question. So is it difficult? Yes. Nothing is easy. However, you can do things to make firms be interested in hiring you. So, for example, one man I coached was a college grad. He'd taken some courses, and his dad was in computer programming, had a brother in software engineering, a sister who had data skills, and he was the guy in the middle. And he took training, got certified, was able to get a job, because he expended effort to demonstrate his knowledge and capabilities. Notice, he put in the effort first. He didn't expect them to train him. He didn't expect them to spend money to get him ready to do a job that at that moment he wasn't qualified for. And this was during the pandemic. Catch that one. During the pandemic, he was able to land the job because he put in an effort. If you don't put in an effort, it'll be very, very hard for you to do that. You're going to have to take some risks in order to get that entry-level programming job that you seem to want. So that's my advice to you. Don't sit and wait for the phone to ring like a date on Thursday, wondering if she or he is going to call. Put yourself out there. Try. Okay? Again, just going to remind you, if you've got a question for me about your job search, put it into chat so I can answer it live. Okay? Here we go. Got another one in advance. Reached out to a previous manager from 3 jobs ago. They asked for a reference per the requirements of a potential job offer because she's not returning my texts or emails. I was one of her best employees in the department. Why is she all of a sudden dodging me? Well, there's a number of reasons why. One is she's busy. She doesn't have time. That's an obvious one. Number 2 is maybe you weren't the best one or one of her best ones, and you've overvalued yourself. That's another possible reason. Could be your firm has a policy against doing that, and it's unfortunate that she's not willing to communicate that. Also a possibility. You're trying to reach out to her, and I would encourage you to send her an email or send her a text with a message line that says, "Are you okay?" And the body would read something to the effect of, "I've reached out to you a couple of times to have a reference. Oh, by the way, one of the other reasons is she doesn't remember who you are. 3 jobs ago, for all I know, could be 10 years, and she's forgotten who you are and feels awkward about it. So she's not calling you up and say, 'Who are you, by the way?'" So as I was saying, I'd send a text or an email with a message line that says, "Are you okay? I messaged you a few days ago asking whether I could give you as a reference, but haven't heard back from you. Just want to make sure you're okay." Normally, people will respond with guilt and embarrassment for not having gotten back, make polite excuses for it, and then offer to do what you need them to do. So give that a try. I know it always worked for me in recruiting when someone wasn't getting back to me, because it takes it out of the professional into a personal. And people don't want to think as though you're worried about them as to whether or not they're all right. Okay. We've got another one. Why are hiring managers who are not skilled given the power to decide a skilled candidate? So let's start off with they're skilled differently. You're a guy in the weeds, you're a woman in the weeds, probably a guy because this is written with male attitude to it of entitlement. my opinion, of course. You may be the most wonderful person in the world, but English may not be your first language unless you're communicating in an arrogant kind of way. Tone it down in the future. Another reason that they're given the power to decide about you is you come out of their budget. They will be managing you. You will be their responsibility. As a result, since they're involved because you come from their budget, well, they want to evaluate you and decide whether or not you're someone that they want to vouch for. Because that's really what hiring is vouching for someone. Because they believe that they have the ability to do a particular job. That's it in a nutshell. So why do they do it? Because you're going to report to them. You come out of their budget. They're going to be responsible for you. And as a result, that's why they have the decision-making authority. What is the recommended time frame for following up with HR after submitting a job application? Is it possible to inquire about the status of an interview if we have not been contacted by the company? Let me pause on the second question. I think I addressed this earlier, but I would wait until the end of the following day in the area of 4 o'clock to message them or call them. Now, is it possible to inquire about the status of an interview? That's pretty presumptuous of you that they're going to want to talk with you. They may not have looked at your resume yet, but you're just going to ask them about when they're planning on interviewing you. Come on. It's ridiculous. So the long and the short of it is, don't bother with the second. Focus on the first. And as I said earlier, wait till toward the end of the following day to follow up. And if they don't get back to you, wait 2 days and follow up with them then. Excuse me. I'm going to do another 2 questions and call it a day unless someone puts another question in the chat. Okay. What is the appropriate way to inquire about the timeline for the hiring process after each round of interviews? I know I've addressed this before in other shows, but the way I do it, the way I coach people is at the end of an interview, I'll ask them amongst the questions that they're asking at the end, what's the timeline for next steps in this process? And there are 3 possible answers that you might receive. The first one is, oh, I've got 27 more people to talk to, and I'll be in touch with you sometime around when hell freezes over. The fact that they're still talking to a lot of people translates into, don't call us, we'll call you. The next one is, I expect early part of next week. Better, still not great, but better, early part of next week, so Monday, Tuesday. So if I haven't heard from you by, let's say, Wednesday, Thursday, is it okay if I follow up with you? 2 possible answers. Sure, or wait. Wait translates into, don't push us, please. We'll get in touch if we're interested. And they're not that into you. And that's good for you to know. The third possible answer is, I expect the early part of next week you'll hear from HR. They want to schedule an interview with you to meet with such and so, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. If you haven't heard by Tuesday of next week, give me a call and I'll push them to get in touch. Much better answer, right? Because they're much more specific about the steps that are going to happen. Okay, so that's the way I would broach it with them. I'm going to do one more question and then call it a day. Okay, and this one is it common for employers to view a candidate's LinkedIn profile after an interview or during the job application process? Both. In looking at your profile, they're looking for congruence between what you have communicated in the resume and communicated in the interview and what reality is. So They'll look at it in order to get verification. Sometimes it's a reminder who you are because they're forgetting. So they look at your profile and they go, oh, yeah, that person. Sure. And yes, it's pretty normal these days because I don't know if you know this. And if not, let me let you know a secret. Sometimes people lie. I know they lie. Go figure. So, in looking at your profile, they're looking for reminders, they're looking for verification about who you are and what you've done, so it's congruent with your resume. So, yes, it's common for them to look at your LinkedIn profile. And they may be looking at your profile because they're thinking of contacting you about a position. The first two are really about when you've already been interviewed, but how about when an employer is looking at your profile because they're trying to find someone to fill a job? They could be doing that too. So I hope you found today's show helpful. I'll be back next week with more. I'm Jeff Altman. Again, go to JobSearch.Community. I've got a lot of great content available for you there that you can watch, listen to, or read that will help you with your job search. And become an insider so I can help you even more video courses, books, and guides, even more coaching and advice from me to help you with your job search. I hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. Take care.